we're hearing that somebody else might sneak in. Governor Cuomo, former Governor Cuomo might come in. What's your message to the other candidates in the race?
Yeah. So let me just deal with the two things. I could care less whether Cuomo comes in. You guys, I'm sure know. I know Andrew Cuomo. I sued him. I collaborated with him when I sued the De Blasio administration over the decrepit public housing communities and the way that infrastructure is falling apart. I represented his office for a period of time during the Tish James investigation. So I know that he says he's going to come in. If he comes in the race, good. That's up to him. The two things I want to say to the candidates in the race are this. I could care less who attacks me. I'm going to try to elevate the dialogue to get past the blood sport. Now, sometimes I stray, and I always feel bad about it, and I always apologize for it. But I would like this to be a campaign of ideals and ideas. And really, it's if we're talking about, we're putting the Republican to the side for 1 second, because I don't know if it'll just be Curtis Sliwa or there'll be a primary there because someone else will come in later in the race. But with respect to the Democrats, they're going to have a heavy scrum of people. But you've got really Eric Adams and Cuomo, who I'll just describe as centrists, although I think they're more complicated than that. And then you've got a whole bunch of what I will call Democratic socialists. Some of them are card-carrying members. Some of them have socialist policies. And Stringer kind of, depending on the issue, floats back and forth between those things. So he's a little bit harder to pigeonhole, and he's the most one of the most experienced elected officials in that mix. And I think that it's really a choice. If it's a choice between me and them, it's a choice between two things. And this is what I'd say to them, and this is what I'd say to the voters. With respect to the socialists, it's really ideals, because I'm not a socialist. I don't believe in it. I don't believe that you can point to me to a successful example of a sustained socialist or communist government that also, because we're talking about both a political and an economic component of it, that has innovated, who's made people's lives better, that does anything but, give baby baskets out for free. So that isn't ideal. But it's also about ideas. And the truth of the matter is, whether it's the Cuomo, Adams people, Stringer, or what I'll lump together as all the Democratic socialists, it is career politicians against outsiders. And I think that what you're going to see in the race, and this is one of the reasons that I wanted to get into the policy early, is that I am the person of looking outside of the mainstream, looking to see, how Republican-run cities or states deal with problems. I want to see, just like we talked about with the negotiator, right? I want to look at a problem comprehensively, completely irrespective of what government or whether red or blue or something else. So I think you've got a lot of what I will respectfully refer to as career politicians who talk a good game about the problems they're going to solve. And in fact, they've made many problems worse, and they've ignored a lot of problems, as opposed to someone that has the passion, the ability, the intellectual firepower, and the humility to come up with policies that are just better. They're better for people, right? And is willing to talk about the tough stuff. I mean, honestly, how many of these candidates are really, really talking about anti-Semitism? We've got hate crimes going through the ceiling. The last report that came out was that Jews went from something like 15% of hate crimes to 55%. Why? Because the Adams administration is not taking anti-Semitism seriously. He's going to all of these fundraisers by Jewish people in the real estate industry and saying, well, I spoke out. Yeah, well, you spoke out about it, but what did you actually do? So it's one of the first policies I put forward, because I want to be a mayor for everyone. I hate discrimination. I hate it. I don't care who it is that's on the other end of it. It ruins lives. And no one on the far left is protecting Jewish people. And so in any event, I hope people understand that comes at a political cost, right? Especially for a first-time candidate trying to break through. The easiest thing for me to do is to stay in my lane and not talk about anything too controversial. And you can imagine that the campaign people are not happy with the kind of race I'm trying to run because it's very out of the box thinking. But that's the idea piece that I'm talking about. And gotten real results for people. The choice is clear. How's that?
I think that you come off as genuine and honest, and I
Thank
think that which is something what we want to see, right? You said you're not a politician. I mean, you have a law background. It's very impressive. You took on the mob, so obviously you have guts. We can tell. I mean, clear as day, you came on this podcast for an organic conversation. I want to thank you, and I appreciate it. So I think you provide a lot of good information. I think that you really did. I think kudos to you that you did change the course of the election on how this is going to go further, because you put pen to paper and talking about some tough subjects that we really see candidates shying away from, especially when it comes to the mandate and putting workers back. And I think it's just an easy stance. It's illegal, put them back to work. Public safety, we want prosperity for New York City. We want people not to feel safe. We want them just to be safe, and it takes support of the police department. That's the biggest concern for me is qualified immunity. And the fact that you stand by qualified immunity is major for the police to do their job. So I just want to have a little fun. I want to thank you so much. You said you're a movie guy. I'm a movie guy. Give me a movie title that describes your campaign, if you got something.
Oh, come on. Gladiator or Braveheart, man. I've seen those two movies probably 50 times a piece.
And they're long form.
They're long form.
Jim, we missed one thing though.
Oh, sure.
Independence Party. What are you running at? What are you planning to run at? Can you tell us a little bit about the lawsuit you dropped about the Independence Party?
Yeah, this is so crazy. So when I first, understand this is not like some calculated manicured program that I had, and I was thinking about running for 6 months. This happened really in the aftermath of the Adams indictment, and me just being kind of completely frustrated by what the Democratic machine was turning out. So I did some research, and I was like, okay, I really want to run as an independent. How does that work? So I talked to lawyers, et cetera, et cetera. And I did not know. I was like, well, I'll just run in the Independence Party. And I actually did not know that it was banned. They're like, no, you have to make up a name. You can be independent with a little I, but you have to make up a name. And by the way, they said the name can't include the word independent. I was like, what? I'd like, you can't have a party that's like the United States Party or the America Party or the New York Party, because then people would be confused. Did the state sponsor this party? That's the reason that there are some banned words. But independent, like, why is that banned? I had no idea. So I did the research, and I found out that 2 years ago, the legislature, the state of New York, claimed that they were trying to avoid voter confusion, because people that were registered as members of the Independence Party, some very small percentage of them believed that they were just independent, not that they were in the Independence Party. That wasn't why they banned it. They banned it because they didn't want competition. They didn't want a third party choice. And we've seen this from Albany again and again and again. And I was shocked, frankly, that Kathy Hochul signed the bill. But once I realized it, I tried to figure out whether it was reported in like the New York Times or the Post. And what I realized, it was the Daily News that really had a campaign against the Independence Party. And I didn't fully understand why, but I didn't even care, because the reason that the legislature did it was a lie. And you know that because they based their conclusions about confusion on a survey that wasn't even an actually commissioned survey by some third party, but it was a local newspaper's informal survey that was 9 years old, right? Now, understand, at its height, the Independence Party in the state of New York had 500,000 people. Democrats didn't want that, primarily Democrats. Republicans didn't want it either, but it was mostly the Democrats that decided to do this. So I filed the lawsuit. That's what I do. People are going to see more of that's coming. I filed the lawsuit on behalf of the campaign, but also to right a wrong. Our parties should not be banning things that they don't like just to reduce voter choice. Citizens of New York should have the ability to vote for an Independence Party candidate. And so I'm bringing the party back.
I like it, and it's unfortunate in New York that you have to have a party name, but I like your stance on that. I think the position's great. Jim, I want to thank you so much.
Thank you.
Honestly, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to meet you, and I hope that eventually we have follow-up conversations live, and we could really have more engagement with our friends and listeners. I want to thank our friends and listeners for being here. I apologize. There's some super chats here, coffee and donuts, a lot of great questions. We just didn't want to go totally off course. But Jim, would you be willing to come back here one day and engage the
No way.
chat?
No, this was too tough. No, yeah, of course. Yeah, I'd love
I just got a question. I know we know where to find you. Are there any organizations that you're a part of, like VFW, American League? Is there any organizations that you're a part of, or any fraternal organizations that we can tell the public who you are and anything you belong to?
No, I mean, I've been on boards for not-for-profits that I care about over the course of time. There's so many of them, like the Fund for Modern Courts. There was a group called Day One that was trying to protect women from dating violence. But my causes are many. I don't want to necessarily single any of them out because there's a lot of them. So what I would like to single out is for those people that are skeptical and upset and don't trust. I just want you to understand that I understand why. I'm not asking you to do anything, to like me, to agree with me, any of it. If I asked you to do those things, then you knew that you couldn't trust me, right? What I hope that you learn to trust me is because I see and hear people and understand why they think the government sucks, and I don't, and it shouldn't. Right. And I'm here for one reason and one reason only. I don't want to be governor or president or any of that stuff. I want to govern the city of New York for 8 years and then go back to a firm that I've worked 10 years to build that I had to put my part on hold, which was not easy. So I just want people to understand, whether they believe me or they don't, it comes from a good place. And I want my legacy to be, he worked really hard and he tried to do the right thing, whether or not anyone was looking.
I love it. So listen, everybody, there'll be links to donate to Jim's campaign down in the chats. Jim, if you want, can you just tell us where we could find you on social media, where we could donate to the campaign?
Oh, well, that was nice. You didn't have to do that. But so my website is jim4nyc.com. That's Jim, FORNYC.com. As I put out there, I'm really just trying to get small dollar donations to get closer to the 50% point on matching. I don't need to get matching right now. And by the way, my fundraising numbers are going to be big. So my community has really stepped up for me in a way that I'm really proud of. And my social media handles are the same. It's at Jim4NYC. So when my personal account gets restored, which I hope is in the next couple of days, that's Jim Walden _ESQ. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate the conversation, and go Stoicism, man.
That's right. Stoicism should be the forefront of leadership. Absolutely. Jim, thank you so much for taking the time out. It's been a pleasure to meet you. I hope we get to speak again. John and I are definitely impressed that you're willing to put pen to paper. You show a lot of courage, a lot of balls. There's a lot of people that have deflected from coming on this podcast. And you know what? You didn't shy away from it right away. So, listen, I have nothing but respect for you. I'm impressed. Thank you so much. And I hope we speak in the future. Thank you. Good luck to you.
Thank you,
Jim, take care, brother. Thanks for coming on. Great show.
Jim Walden has suspended his campaign, and he's now urging other candidates to unite against Democratic nominee Zohran Mamdani, asking those who are still trailing in the polls to drop out of the race by the end of the month. Former Governor Andrew Cuomo, he applauded the move, saying Walden, quote, put ego and ambition aside for the good of New York City. His decision underscores the existential threat our city faces in Zohran Mamdani.
And we have Jim Walden with us today. I think it's a great conversation. Jim Walden drops out of the race and endorses Andrew Cuomo. So let's just jump right into it. So, Jim, I just want to say that you've been seen as someone, I guess I want to say that you've been seen as someone who challenged status quo, you could say, and a man of integrity, a former prosecutor. And with that being said, it seems that you've now endorsed someone that kind of embodies that political machine that you seem to be opposed to initially, right? You were going outside the box when it came to the Civilian Complaint Review Board, when it came to the vaccine mandate and reinstating workers that were wrongfully terminated. So could you walk us through why you dropped out, and with those things, in light of that, why you endorsed Andrew Cuomo?
Yeah, sorry. I just took myself off mute. Can you
Yeah, no
guys hear me
problem.
okay?
We
Great.
got that.
Yeah, so Eric, thanks for the question. Hey, John, thanks so much for having me on. This has not been an easy race, right? Obviously, I ran in part because I knew that Andrew Cuomo was going to be entering the race, and it was very much my hope that my candidacy would break through and that people would see a different way of leading. But we are where we are, and I try to be as responsible as possible in terms of always, interrogating myself and what my path was. And as I saw it become clearer and clearer that the race was going to go to Mamdani as long as there was a multi-candidate race, and that I was going to be taking votes away from a candidate that needed it. I had the hard conversation with myself and my campaign team, and decided that the path for integrity for me was to drop out of the race. Now, we have candidates in the race that that all have serious baggage, and certainly Mamdani, from my perspective, is the most threatening mayoral candidate I can ever imagine. And I say that he's a very smart guy. He's a terrific campaigner. He's run a campaign that has inspired a lot of people, inspired them around the wrong ideas, in my view. But I looked at the math back in July, and I said in July that once the polls came out, I wanted to do my own with the other candidates, and nobody took me up on that idea, but that I was going to endorse the front runner. And in every single poll, Andrew Cuomo has had a comfortable lead. Now, that doesn't change any of the positions that I've taken. And to the extent that I have a voice, I'm going to continue to advocate for all of those things. I strongly believe that what happened during COVID with the termination of employees was just wrong. I believe that it was wrong for the city to retrade health benefits for retired public servants in order to solve budget problems. I believe that the CCRB is woefully broken and should be disbanded and replaced with an agency that can actually do a better job. So all those things continue to be true.
So here's the thing, though, right? Like, everyone's like, "Oh, you got to vote for Cuomo, who already lost the Democratic primary to Zohran Mamdani." I don't know one policy the man has. I get you. I know your policies, Jim. We know them well. Like, we spoke to you about it, and I know people personally that believe that Andrew Cuomo should be in jail. I know people personally that will never vote for Andrew Cuomo. Why should New Yorkers forget that the number one public safety issue facing New Yorkers, which is criminal recidivism, was signed in, welcomed, and still being lauded by Andrew Cuomo? Why should we forget that during COVID, he suspended the Constitution and believed himself to be a king and started acting like it? And I have numerous video proof that throughout the next few weeks, I will be releasing of when we used to call him King Cuomo, when we all had little pictures of him on our house. Like, why should we forget about that right now? And why should the Republican nominee drop out for a Democrat, in my opinion, a far left Democrat who got destroyed in the Democratic primary? Like, what is the case there?
Yeah, so I'm not here to tell anyone to forget about anything. I mean, I think that's when we forget about history, then we're doomed to repeat it. So I think that we have to, to the extent that Cuomo wins, we have to hold him accountable the way that I have done with every single mayor since I became politically active, through litigation against literally every single mayor since Bloomberg. I think when Giuliani was there, I was still at the U.S. Attorney's Office. So I'm not telling you to forget any of those things, but the simple truth is that Curtis has not broken 20% in a single poll since I think the last time he broke was the Harris X poll in, I think it was like 6 months ago. And if Curtis stays in the race, then we are going to have a Mamdani administration. And that's worse for everyone on just about every issue, other than the small group of people that will benefit from some of his policies. It's even those people, the benefits are going to be temporary because the amount of money that it's going to take to afford all of his programs is going to bankrupt the city. So listen, it's a hard decision. I mean, and everyone's got to make that decision for themselves. And so I can only tell people the truth that I see about the math, which is as long as there are two other candidates splitting the centrist vote, Mamdani's going to win. So to me, it's just a question of what is most important. And I'm not just talking the talk, I walk the walk. It was not easy to basically take 10 months or 11 months, however long I was in the campaign, and walk away from that. That was a huge amount of work that essentially I stepped away from, only because it was more important to me that there be a chance to defeat Mamdani. And that chance only comes if there's a single candidate. And just to be clear, John, I said I was going to endorse the front runner. If the front runner had been Curtis Sliwa, I would have endorsed Curtis Sliwa. To me, it's that none of the candidates is perfect. Everybody can lean into what they don't like or what they do like in the candidates, but the math is the math.
I agree. Not every candidate is perfect, but I think that we can't expect them to be flawless, but we can't have someone that has ultimately more flaws than they've had success. And I see that with Andrew Cuomo. I was affected personally. My father was in a nursing home during COVID. He passed, and I felt it personally. I watched my father get buried with binoculars. And you say that you would vote for the front runner. And I hate to sit out of a vote, but would you vote for a front runner if they're absolutely, completely flawed, even if they're the front runner? Would you rather just sit out and say, you know what, there's no one here who's a viable candidate, or at least get behind someone that you think embodies your vision, even if there's just a fighting chance? At this point, we still have 5 weeks left. Why don't we try to rally the troops and get behind Curtis Sliwa? If you don't believe what embodies Cuomo as being someone that is your vision, why even get behind him at all? I mean, there's still a democratic process. At least I hope at this point.
Well, listen, Eric, again, I'm a guy of nuance, for better or for worse, right? And so what Cuomo did during COVID, I'm never going to forget or forgive him for. I stood alongside those families, and I'm very sorry for your loss, but I met so many families that lost their parents or their grandparents during COVID. And on bail reform, he shouldn't have signed it into law. And he shouldn't have championed it. I mean, he obviously leaned way too far to the left, but that was true of the entire Democratic Party at the time. There were very lonely voices, mostly in the independent and the conservative side, that said that bail reform was a terrible idea. I mean, to be fair, there are some aspects of the bail reform law that were good. And the main problem with it is that it didn't give judges discretion to keep recidivists and people accused of violent crimes in jail during the pendency of their cases. So in any event, I'm not going to forget any of that stuff, but at the same time, he is hold on one second, guys. Sorry, guys. So the truth about Curtis, though, is that he is never going to get significant support from centrist Democrats. They just don't see him as a viable candidate. You can like that or not like it, but that's the truth. And the poll numbers show that. And based on my study of past election, it's our centrist Democrats that ultimately decide who's going to be the mayor of the city of New York. And Andrew Cuomo's got a hell of a lot more support among centrist Democrats. I view him more as a centrist, obviously, while understanding some of the things that he did that leaned too far into the far left while he was governor. And I really wish he would just be candid about it and say, I made mistakes. He said that in some ways, but not in a way that people really, take any comfort from.
So this is my issue, right? You have a lot of people saying, "Oh, if you support Curtis Sliwa, you're gonna ensure a Mamdani victory," and that's basically your messaging here. Is you're saying that anyone that supports Mamdani and supports Sliwa is ensuring a victory. But I see it the total opposite. One, I've spoken to the Sliwa campaign, and I believe that they should start dropping out polls, because polls are made to the low information voters. They're 400-person likely voter polls. They're not really giving me the true numbers. And anyone that believes that, I mean, those were the same polls that told us that Cuomo was going to destroy Zohran Mamdani. And we were sitting here saying, no, he's not. Zohran's going to win. And sure enough, those polls were proven wrong. And I'm looking at the sampling size. I'm looking at who they're sampling. And I'm sitting there and saying, that's not actually telling the story. And Sliwa, I believe, is running a campaign of integrity, but I think he's running too much integrity. I think he should be dropping out his own polls, and it would show a different tale, and so he's not doing that. But here's my thing. Are you sitting here and telling us that if Andrew Cuomo didn't drop out of the race, that centrist Democrats are going to vote for Zohran Mamdani? If he's such an existential threat to New York City, then Andrew Cuomo should drop out of the race and endorse Curtis Sliwa. It's that simple. I mean, he's the Republican nominee. Andrew Cuomo lost already.
Trying to take myself off mute. Listen, again, I appreciate your perspective, John. I really do. But we are where we are, and the numbers don't lie. And I wholly agree with you on the issue with respect to the polls, right? I've never been a guy that is believed in the polls, but you got to take something from the polls when they're so consistent over the course of time. There have been 10 polls since the Democratic primary, and they all basically say the same thing. So again, I think Curtis has run a great race. I think he's an amazing New Yorker. And again, if he was the front runner, I would have endorsed him instead of Cuomo. But if you believe the polls, even as taken as a whole, right? The only person that has a chance to beat him is Cuomo, and that chance evaporates if there's another candidate in the race that draws any more than a couple of percentage points. Because if Cuomo were to win, it would be a squeaker, assuming that Mamdani is going to get the same or more votes than he did in the Democratic primary.
Jim, I don't mean to be facetious, but let's test logic. If Cuomo dropped out today and Mamdani is the leading man in the polls, do you get behind Mamdani? Because based on your logic,
no.
That's what we're saying here. Well, why would they change anything?
Listen, Mamdani's a socialist. Mamdani's anti-cop. I'll never support a candidate like that. So
Cuomo wanted to defund the police.
Cuomo is pretty selfless to me. I mean, he shut religious institutions and demonized people for having religious events, weddings, communions, bar mitzvahs. People were evil. We were gonna, it doesn't get more tyrannical than that.
Well, listen, John, I don't want to debate you on how excessive the whole country was during COVID. As someone that wasn't thrilled about taking vaccines myself, I ultimately ended up doing it. But I really strongly believe that that the excesses across the entire government, federal, state, and local, were overdone, unnecessary, and a lot of people got hurt. But in terms of other things that we care about, I believe that he didn't defund the police. He said that it was a legitimate school of thought, but that he didn't agree with it. That's what his quote was. I don't think it's a legitimate school of thought. I never thought it was a legitimate school of thought. I thought it was suicidal. But obviously politicians change their perspectives, and I think at least the version of Andrew Cuomo that we have now is someone that clearly is going to support the police, fully fund them, get more police officers on the street, try and retain more police officers, do more for the police at this critical time. So I think that he's a strong candidate on safety, and I think he's a strong candidate on the economy. I think that he's going to build ambitiously, and that's really what we need to get past the housing crisis.
Jim, one moment. I just want to say, because we said, I'm just going by what you said. You said that you would get behind the front runner, and you said that on previous episodes. And we've had you on here numerous times. We've had great conversations on and off camera, and I always find it a pleasure. But you said you would, endorse the front runner. Why would the logic change now? That's my point. If Curtis Sliwa was not the front runner in comparison to Zohran Mamdani, why would that change now? Why would logic change?
Yeah, because I knew who the candidates were, right? So it's we're not talking about a situation where I was always talking about the front runner in a race against Mamdani. I mean, you guys will remember that I was one of the earliest people to predict that Mamdani was going to win the Democratic primary. I've been looking at this data for a long time. You guys were obviously ahead of the curve too. So would it be great if we had a different mix of candidates and we didn't have to make what's a Hobson's choice? Yeah, it would be great. But that's not the reality. That's not what we have right now. We have a race that is a 3-person race where we already know that the Democrat got whatever it was, 550,000 votes. So if we get record turnout and there's 1.3 or 1.4 million people that show up, he's going to get around 650,000 votes in the general. And that just doesn't leave enough votes for 2 candidates to split.
And that's why the guy that lost the primary should resign his campaign. And if he cared about New York City, show that you do for once. And you're saying that he has like these affordability acts. First of all, Zohran Mamdani's not making the city more affordable. Andrew Cuomo's not making the city more affordable. Curtis Lee was not making the city more affordable. Anybody buying on that? Again, low information hook points. It's not actually happening. Public safety. He's doubling down on bail reform, saying it righted a great wrong when it didn't. The idea behind it was to right a wrong, and it was implemented completely wrong, horribly, and it cost people their lives. Public safety's on the ballot, and I'm sorry, like Andrew Cuomo has proven that he's completely inept and incompetent when it comes to public safety. And until today, his campaign is anybody but Mamdani. He has no platform. Yeah.
I apologize, guys. I'm going to have to go after this, but I really do appreciate you having me on. I completely understand your perspective. I don't agree with it in the sense that we're still in the same situation. No matter how much you hate Cuomo, no matter how much you think. I mean, let me ask you a question. If it was just a 2-person race and it was Cuomo versus Mamdani, would you vote for Mamdani?
If it was a 2-person race, would I vote for Mamdani? I'll be honest. I would never vote for either of them. I'm too principled, and I cannot forgive somebody that should be in jail, and I'm not going to vote against someone who I believe they're the same person, in my opinion. I actually believe Andrew Cuomo has a much worse record, and Andrew Cuomo should probably be in jail. He should have been impeached. He resigned before his impeachment. And there's no way in God's green earth I could ever put my vote towards Andrew Cuomo. If those are my choices, I have no choices. I don't know about you, Eric. What do you think?
No, Jim, I don't believe in abstaining from votes, but that would be the time I would put forth a counter protest, right? Counter protest and say we cannot have these 2 as our potential candidates for New York City, the most iconic city in the entire world. We already know Cuomo's record, and Mamdani's is a mirror image of Cuomo and Eric Adams, which to me is a both epic fail on a state and city level. I just find it hard to believe. I have nothing but respect for you. We've had you on here numerous times. We've had great conversations, but I have to admit the logic just doesn't seem to make sense. But at the same token, I respect it's a democratic process. I respect it, but just to go by the front runner, I believe that we could get behind Curtis Sliwa with 5 weeks left. If we push him forward as a crime fighter and not just as a public official, I believe we could catch fire and he could win.
Well, listen, guys, I'm sorry that this all happened during my transit here, but I've got to get going. I really appreciate you having me on, and good luck with the rest of the show. You guys are the best.
Safe travels, Jim. Talk to you.
Jim, thanks for wearing a blue shirt. Be good. It's Blue Shirt Day.
So, all right, people. So you heard it. Jim Walden, he knows that it was an hour-and-a-half show, but yet he only decided this morning that he only had 15 minutes. So, take for that what you will. I didn't invite Jim on. Jim's communication girl reached out, so I was a little taken back by that. It was a short interview, so I'm gonna reach back out in the next few days and see if he actually wants to come on and debate the issues. But I think what we saw clearly here is there really is no debate. you're being hooked with low information talking points with Andrew Cuomo. Oh, and I'm getting like all the same type of fear that people tried to place in me during COVID. They're trying to place in me now. I'm getting message after message, text message after text message. John, you're going to get blamed for Zohran Mamdani becoming the mayor. I'm like, I'm going to get blamed for Zohran. I was like, bring it on. I've been called everything. Even what was I the other day? I was a religious zealot. I said, blame me for whatever you like. I said, but we need to blame Andrew Cuomo, who already lost the Democratic primary and is now the spoiler candidate. There is no way on God's green earth that Republicans, conservatives, principled people that consider themselves moderates should be sitting here and saying, oh, Curtis Sliwa, the Republican nominee, needs to drop out for King Cuomo, who got destroyed in the Democratic primary. It's like, what world do we live in where this is what we're saying? Like, Eric, am I like seriously? Like, you I think your logic questions are good. Like, is there really logic here? Like, is this really logic, or is it just fear mongering?
Well, that's my point, right? I always believe that when you have a conversation, when there's opposition meets opportunity, but at the same token, to see if someone actually believes, because he said this is his belief. If they really believe and get behind it, we have to test logic. This just doesn't make sense. It doesn't test logic, and that's why I find it hard to believe. Jim's platform initially, when he came on the Finest Unfiltered, was that he is going to challenge status quo. He didn't say that word for word, but that was his campaign. Challenge status quo. He embodies something different. He was a former prosecutor. Go against the machine. We need real people. And yet now he's embodying the same person that not only destroyed the entire city, but the entire state, and where other states actually took their template for. Me personally, I lost my father. I watched my father get buried with binoculars because of Andrew Cuomo's policy. And we're going to get behind him. Would I vote for Mamdani? No. But Mamdani didn't kill my father either.
I mean, so like that's the thing here. It's like it's sitting there and it's basically giving you the illusion of choice. Andrew Cuomo got completely like if what Jim is saying and what the people supporting Cuomo are saying, oh, he swung too far left. What they're really telling you is he's got no spine. He's not a leader. He cannot be trusted. So why does Andrew Cuomo grow a spine now after resigning from the seat of the governor? Like, what fortified him now? He has zero plan. His campaign is literally vote for me, not Mamdani. That's his campaign. He has no public safety platform. I mean, I'll bring up a video in a second about bail reform where he's literally saying he's applauding himself for it. I mean, and how does that make sense? How does that make sense when, I don't agree with Jessica Tisch and I don't agree with Eric Adams on much, but I agree with Jessica Tisch and Eric Adams when they say that recidivism is the number one problem in public safety in New York City. And that's what they've been saying over and over and over again. And why is recidivism the number one problem in New York City? Oh, it's because of bail reform, right? And the same thing. And when you look at people being demonized, the cops that are being harassed daily on New York City streets, the cops that are being doxxed, what is that a result of? It's a result of Andrew Cuomo repealing 50A, right? I mean, this is like public safety. Zohran Mamdani and Andrew Cuomo on public safety are the same. Because here's Zohran Mamdani. Zohran Mamdani's telling you what the DSA wants to do. And you could be assured that Andrew Cuomo is going to do that when he receives pressure from the DSA. Because again, like I said, Andrew Cuomo doesn't want to be the mayor of New York City. He's seeking higher office, and he's going to push in that Democratic line. And if the Dems go even further left, he's going further left. I just need to remind people. I need to remind people of who Andrew Cuomo is. Because Jim said that Zohran's anti-police and that he's a socialist. Well, what does this make Andrew Cuomo? Listen to Dov Hikind here in 2020. Listen to this conversation. I like Dov Hikind. I like his messaging. I've always respected him. I know him since I'm a child. But right here, to me, I listened to this last night and I was disgusted. One, I'm disgusted because Dan Manarino is sitting there and he forgets we have a United States Constitution. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, this is what happened to us in America. How did this happen in America where we demonized religious institutions? We told people that they couldn't gather more than 50, and it was based on nothing. It was based on Andrew Cuomo just deciding, hey, 50 people. Like, what? What are you talking about, 50 people? What are you talking about, 6 feet apart? I can't walk 6 feet next to my wife who I sleep in the same bed with? What are you talking about, dude? Listen to this. Like, this happened in America, people, and you guys don't forget, and it was brought to you by King Cuomo. Listen to him. Listen to him. Listen to what he did to the Jewish community. Dov Hikien's trying to defend the Jewish community, and he's so afraid at this point because of King Cuomo, because they don't know what they do. So he's got to tell everybody, follow the rules. But instead, what they should have said is, I'm absolutely not following these rules because they're unconstitutional. But Andrew Cuomo thought that he could just suspend the Constitution. Listen to it.
And the governor has to stop behaving and causing a wave of anti-Semitism throughout. I mean, the things that are happening are unbelievable as a result of the governor tagging the Jewish community. Am I Hasidic? I have a target on my back because I wear a yarmulke, I'm a Jew, and terrible things are going on out there in the streets because of what the governor has done. You know, the World Health Organization just came out 48 hours ago. The World Health Organization advised leaders all over the world saying lockdowns are detrimental. They should not be used. And the governor has been dishonest with the Jewish community, lying to its leaders. And the other issue is, and this is very important, you know, people within these zones that the governor talks about in Borough Park were store owners who were following the rules, doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Many synagogues doing the right thing. So what has the governor done?
So
People
when you look at the actual,
shopping, they want to buy a pair of shoes for their children.
Yeah,
Guess what? They go to a different neighborhood.
When you look at the numbers, right? Borough Park, because you keep talking about Borough Park, it has some of the highest infection rates in this city. And how can residents there feel that they're being singled out or scapegoated when you look at the video and at face value at the video, you see a number of people not wearing masks walking around the streets. And those are state imposed guidelines here.
Yeah. And I have traveled over the past few days, Central Park in Manhattan, the Bronx, Queens. We have videos showing in areas all over the city. People
but the numbers, it's the numbers that are driving the story here.
Must follow the rules. There's no question about that. But the governor, why does he have to talk about the Jews, the Jews, the Jews? Would he do that to the Black community? Would he do that to the Asian community in this fashion? Of course not. He has an obsession now. I am going to close the synagogues. King Cuomo, he's running the world. It's his language.
But I want to be very clear here, sir. I just want to be very clear that there is not just Jewish communities that are being closed down in these neighborhoods. There are stores that are not Jewish owned that are also closed down. Like I said, private and public schools, the Catholic diocese as well, Borough Park, Flatlands, Gravesend, Midwood, Gerritsen Beach as well. And so
all he talks about is the Jewish places. All he talks about is Jews, 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 Hasidic Jews. He tells the Catholic Church that you guys are doing fine. It's not your problem. It's the Jews.
Yeah, I just want to be very clear here that I just want to be very clear here.
Communities.
I want to be very clear. It's the numbers. You're bringing up videos from Manhattan and other neighborhoods. It's the numbers from the Department of Health that are driving this story. And when you look at the actual numbers.
So this was a real conversation. That's my point in the whole thing. This was a real conversation. This was Andrew Cuomo demonizing Jewish communities because he absolutely did that. He absolutely labeled them as dirty. I thought, I don't know. You're a Jew and you're voting for Andrew Cuomo? You want to be someone that labels you as dirty? Wow, that's weird. Maybe you should read a little history. Read what Hitler did. What did he do? Oh, he put the disgust factor into Jews. How did he do that? Oh, he said that you were dirty disease spreaders.
Well, you know what? I have to laugh because it's so true, right? It's almost, you watch those videos now and it's like, wow, that really happened. It's all, it's almost 6 years ago, but it's really not that long ago. But in this decade, in this century, that actually happened. Those conversations happened where we demonize people and we lock them out. And now Andrew Cuomo saying, "Whoa, I didn't lock anybody out. I didn't lock any." You know what? They chose to do it. Yeah, right. We don't forget.
You've just watched a clip from our live episode. Click the description to watch the full episode. Like, share, and subscribe for more videos just like this.